right, welcome. Hi, I am Rebekah from Teshuvah Ministries, and this is the Happy Hippie Hebrew Girl Show on Shabbat. Yes, we are, I don't think this can go behind me, so it's going to go right here. We are live today, obviously, from an undisclosed location. Actually, if it goes really well, then I'm going to tell you where, but not yet. All right, we are happy that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and let Isaac tell me whether we're doing good. Yeah? All right. Well, good. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. How are you today? Good. I hope that you are having a nice rest. And yeah, I guess the sound is it too loud? Actually, no. Is it perfect? Oh, good. Needed to go up a little bit. All right. Well, here, let me make sure this is good. There we go. I think that's good. I'll do it this way. Well, good. Nice to see you today. We are joined by Isaac today. He's going to come and talk to us about when we get to the heart of the show, then he's going to join me for a little bit. So he's going to do technical stuff right now and make sure that, yeah, I think that might be just, sorry. Let's just put this over here just to make sure. There we go. All right, so I have a lot to go through today. And just so you know, this is the second to the last of season 1 of the Happy Hippie Hebrew Girl Show. So literally we have only one more show, and then it's summertime, and then we are all going to take a break from YouTube, from Facebook, and we're all going to have a wonderful summer. So, and then we will meet back in the fall for Happy Hippie Hebrew Girl Show season 2. Exciting. Maybe there'll be a new look. I don't know. We'll see. But for today, this is the second show to the end. So we're one more show after this. Just remember, next week is the last show. So today is this is, let's see, the Gregorian date today. Oh, I'll turn my music down. There we go. If I can get it down. All right, the Gregorian date today is, what is it? I think it's the 18th, or it's the 19th of May. 2018, and it is but more importantly, it is the biblical date of the third month, the third day of the third month. Yes, so we had a new moon last Wednesday, third new moon last Wednesday, and last night was the Ascension, and next Sunday is Shavuot. So the Shavuot countdown is 9 days, right? I think it's 9 days. Wait a minute, it's next Sunday, so 8 days. I'm tired when I do some of these. So again, Shabbat Shalom, Ladies of Teshuvah, and your families and anybody else who is watching. I am your host, Rebekah bat Yahovah, and Isaac is here as well, Isaac ben Bar Yahovah. Just for those of you who do not know, we've been married for 20 years. Yeah? When's our anniversary? Going on. Yeah, he remembers our anniversary.
June 21.
June 21st. Yay. And we've been parents of 2 beautiful daughters for 18 years. And we left man-made religion about 15 years ago. I've been a Melech Tzadek feastie. We've been walking this for about 10 years. We've hosted over 200 feasts for Yahweh or Yahweh as a family. And just one other thing I wanted to share with you this morning. If you didn't know this, Rebekah, have been pretty much doing ministry most of my life. I mean, and I was thinking about it yesterday when I was preparing my slides for today, and thinking I've been, just in case you care, just so you know kind of who I am, I've been a missionary to Malaysia, to Borneo. I've been a youth task force worker, so assistant youth director of the religion, the Seventh-day Adventist religion that I was in prior to this walk. Then I was in summer camp ministry as well. I was chaplain of the senior class. I even think I was chaplain of my 8th grade class. So I was chaplain of like my graduating high school senior class, as well as I think the 8th grade class. So I've been a Sabbath school teacher and leader a lot, Academy Week of Prayer speaker. I've been speaker for a lot of different things over the course of my life. Young women's retreat speaker, that sort of thing. So anyway, just thought I'd let you know kind of who I am. It's just, you know, how it is. Our journey kind of leads us to who we are now, and there's a lot of history that has made me into who I am now, as there is for you in your story. But welcome to a show today that is dedicated to transforming your head knowledge into heart knowledge. Yeah. So I hope you understand by now, if you've watched me for a while, I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at when I say this. And when I'm teaching this, I'm trying to get what's in your head, what you put in your head. So what you read, you're reading, and you're filling your head with good stuff, good knowledge. You're getting some of the lies and things that were handed to you. You're getting those out of your life, and you're getting some new understanding. But at some point, it has to become heart knowledge. It has to become something that you do, because it doesn't matter what you know unless the knowing and the new beliefs change what you do and your actions. So that's what I'm dedicated to helping you do. This is a show dedicated to and for the Melchizedek priesthood. Just so you know, Melchizedek priesthood, I'm not talking the LDS interpretation of what that means. I'm talking about the royal priesthood that Yahshua is gathering. So that's a huge topic. But just so you know, we're not Christian, we're not Jewish, we're not Messianic, we're not Hebrew roots, even though we have identifications with kind of all of those. We can kind of identify some with Christianity, we can identify some with Messianic Hebrew roots, some with Judaism and Jewish. You look at some of the traditions that are the holy days, they celebrate the holy days. So do we, but we understand what Yahshua did and how he fulfilled them. So Melchizedek is what we are. And also, welcome to a show to help you get on and stay on the narrow path of the Melchizedek priesthood. So there's a narrow path of salvation, and I want to help you find that. All right, today we are going to read through the royal law of love. Actually, Isaac's going to sit here with me, and we are going to actually just read through it. We're going to read through the law, Yahweh's law of love. And we're just going to discuss it just chunk by chunk and just say, wow, is that doable? Yeah. Can we do that? Yeah. Are we doing that? Yeah. No, we need to work on that. Or, man, what does this mean? Kind of thing. And then we're going to, next week, I'm going to finish out the season by talking about the covenant benefits of, walking in the new contract. So is the new covenant's available right now, not the old one. The first contract is not available anymore. They broke it. But the new superior covenant is available, and this, I call it contracts. Contract 1, contract 2 to keeping the royal law of love. So we're going to read the royal law of love, and the first contract Israel had to keep the royal law of love, they broke. But the superior contract that we have now through the blood of Yahshua, through the indwelling of the rock, that makes it superior to the first contract. This one is the one that we can keep now to keep that royal law of love. It's the only one available. And so we're going to read we're going to understand next week. We're going to talk about contract and the benefits of that contract. Okay. And I also today I have a little video to show you. I have a little show and tell item, and I have a free PDF to give you after the show. You can close it. Yeah, you're gonna have to. Okay. All right, while Isaac's doing that, I have a few announcements to make for Ladies of Teshuvah. Just go ahead and close it. There's a PDF gift I have for you after the show. I'm going to give you the Shavuot, some Shavuot parallels. So go ahead and turn the timer and then close it. All right. So I want to give you the Shavuot parallels. It's a little handout that will take you through the parallels of the first Shavuot, at the first contract, when they signed the first contract, and the second Shavuot parallels when Yahshua fulfilled them. Okay, so that'll be really fun. But you have to come to the ladies group to get that afterwards and let me know that you were here and you were watching. So you just put a little comment in the feed, and then I will know, and then I will send that to you tomorrow morning, provided I have your email address. All right, so just quickly, I would love for you to subscribe to our newsletter, our e-newsletter. And it's so funny because I changed from I changed from one company to another for the emails, and let's see, well, I'm on Constant Contact now. So one of the features in Constant Contact is you can go and you can give everybody the option to opt in. So I had like quite a large database, but it went from like 650 to 93. So, but this is good because it's kind of weeding out the people who don't want our stuff. So, but if you do want our stuff, please go to teshuvahministries.com and then subscribe to our newsletter, and then you'll get new things throughout the week. And then also subscribe to our YouTube channel right below, like this video. It kind of helps in the ratings. And then obviously I am a Lady of Teshuvah, and I have a private Facebook group for you ladies. If you're new to this whole thing, please come over to Facebook if you're on Facebook and type in Ladies of Teshuvah. I think there's a link here in the description, and join our group. You can read about what it is about and everything, and if you like it, then you can stay. If you don't, though, then feel free to leave. Also, just one more thing today, I would love to have you give a recurring offering if you can, to help us continue this. So we're going to go ahead and take a break this summer from the show, but we're going to establish a lot more things. We'll still be working in ministry, so we'd love to have your help with continuing to do what we do and to grow what we're doing and make it as good as it can get. So we have two different ways to do that. If you want to give a gift after Shabbat, I would feel more comfortable with that if you did it after Shabbat, through the patron account, so you can become a patron of mine, or you can just give a one-time gift through PayPal. So there you go. Isaac's busy, otherwise he would have put up those slides for you. Just really quick, the Ladies of Teshuvah, no, I'm done. Ladies of Teshuvah, you have 2 deadlines, okay? So I would love to have you come to the Colorado Convention in person, and that is going to be okay, so that that is going to be a little bit noisy, sorry. And we have you register by May 25th for the Colorado Convention, which is July, excuse me, I'm a little bit distracted right now. July 20 to 22nd, 2018. Would love to have you join us for in-person in Colorado. It's going to be an incredible weekend. We're going to talk about the Ezer Kenegdo, what that means, and you need to be there. If you're a woman, you need to totally be there. But you can also bring your men. You can also register them. I know it's going to say they're registered for the Ladies of Teshuvah Convention, but in reality, they're going to spend the weekend with Isaac on the other side of the property and have fun, just hiking and talking around a campfire and cooking their own food. It's not a real intense thing for the guys. They're just kind of going to hang together. But if you need your guy to drive you there, if you need your guy or your son over 15, your dad, your brother, a friend, your fiance, boyfriend, whatever, you go ahead and register them as well. But you have to be registered. So. Okay, and also you can bring your moms, your sisters, your girlfriends, and your daughters over 15. So. And then also, just really quick, there's online registration. So if you can't come in person, then you can actually register to watch it online for a fee. But that will air in August, 2 weeks after the convention. You can watch it there. So the deadline for that is July 19. All right, I think the link is in the description below to do that. Okay, so are we good, Isaac? All right. Third new moon was last Wednesday evening, so this is our family. We went out for a really nice Indian dinner. So what did you do for the new moon? Anybody? Did you celebrate? Did you mark it? I get notices, just so you know, I get notices from Deborah's date tree to tell us when the new moon was sighted in Israel, in the land of Israel. So, we teach our children to look up in the sky here. If we see it here, then that's how we do our counting, or how we, count the months kind of thing, because I want them to know how to look up instead of just looking at an email that comes from far away. But, if it's cloudy, which it was here last Wednesday, then we love to get notices from Israel to say that it was sighted, and then we go off of that. So the Ascension was last night. How did you celebrate? How did you celebrate the Ascension? Anybody? How did you mark it? You are priests of Yahshua. He is your high priest, your Kohen Gadol. He is gathering his priesthood right now And I think that looking at the ascension, because you can actually find the ascension. As you know, we've already talked about this. You can find the ascension 40 days after he revealed himself to the disciples, he ascended. And that was before Shavuot. He tells his disciples to wait for Shavuot to come, where the promise would be poured out on them. So I think he's our high priest. He's our rabbi. He's our brother. He's our bridegroom. Why wouldn't we want to celebrate this? Why wouldn't we want to mark it somehow and remember the work he did on for the ascension? Not just ascended up as in a way, but ascended in authority. So super important. So I hope that you marked it. I got a chance to mark it last night. We went out with friends to climb to the top of the hill, the top of one of the hills in town here, and we got this really cool view over the city. And it sprinkled just a little bit, but Papa held back the clouds, or held back the rain, and we had a really, really wonderful time talking about it and learned some new things. I was listening to Wendy teach. It was really, really awesome. Okay, we are in the sixth counting of the omer, sixth Shabbat, 6 weeks into counting of the omer, so we only have one more Shabbat left to count. Then we add one day to get to Shavuot, which leads us to next Sunday, not tomorrow, but the next one. All right, and so how are you counting? I don't know. I'll have these Prezi slides up, and you can look at my slides later, so these can be big on your screen. And next year in season 2, I'm hoping to have a new program where these slides, I can just manage it from here, and then boom, it'll be up on your screen, and you can see it really big. But we're just growing, so next season is gonna be good. But it's the 6th Shabbat, and as you know, I make layered cakes or something layered for counting the Shabbat, so my girls remember what Shabbat we're in the counting. And so I was trying to figure out how to get our 6 layered cake up the mountain last night, so I put them in jars. So I made the cake and then cut them into small circles and layered it with frosting, and all organic, it's all non-GMO, it's so nummy, and took them up the mountain that way. That was fun. But one of the things that Wendy was talking about was so cool. So I wanted to share this with you. So I'm going to read it right here. I've got what she does for the counting. This is super cool. 2 Peter for us. 2 Peter 1, 5 through 8. Now listen to this. It's super cool. His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of him who called us by his own glory and goodness. Every sentence in here is so power-packed. Through these, he has given us a very great and precious promise, or very great and precious promises, so that through them you may participate in the divine nature. Wow. It's power-packed, like I said. Having escaped the corruption of the world caused by evil desires. Having escaped the corruption of the world. Oh, I just think that's cool. Anyway, for this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness. To goodness, add knowledge. And to knowledge, add self-control. And to self-control, add perseverance. And to perseverance, add godliness. And to godliness, mutual affection. And to mutual affection, love. Or if you possess these qualities in increasing measure, they will keep you from being ineffective, and unproductive in your knowledge of our Lord Messiah Yahshua. But whoever does not have them is nearsighted and blind, forgetting that they have been cleansed from their past sins. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, make every effort to confirm your calling and election. For if you do these things, you will never stumble, and you will receive a rich welcome into the eternal kingdom of our Lord and Messiah Yahshua. I just found that really cool. Okay, so I broke it down just a little bit. So basically what she said, as Wendy was teaching last night, there's a foundation. The foundation is faithfulness. Is your faithfulness. You're being fidelity. You're walking out this faith. It's active. It's a verb. So you have that. Okay, so you've got that good. You're gonna walk in That's repentance. That's getting your life in alignment with him. So that faith. So you have faith. But then on top of that, then you have the 7 layers. And so what she does is every single week, every time she's counting a Shabbat, she looks at one of those layers that Peter's talking about here in 2 Peter. So you have the foundation of faith, and then the next layer is goodness. So then she spends all week contemplating that and looking at how what that looks like in her life and how she can improve on that, and what it means by that. And then the next layer is knowledge, and the next layer is self-control, and the next layer is perseverance, and the next week would be godliness, and the next week would be mutual affection, which I find interesting. I want to know what the original words there were on that, mutual affection. And then love. And I think that's so interesting. There's seven layers right there, 7 things. You can put those into the counting of the 7 Shabbats, and that love will get you the 7th one right before Shavuot, which is all about love. I just think that's wonderful. So anyway, I'm going to explore that more for next year. So I'll have my layer cake equals, the first layer equals goodness, second layer equals knowledge, and all the way up. Super fun. All right. Just another reminder is the Happy Hippie Hebrew Girls Variety Show Season 1. The final show is next week. Summer break after that, after Shavuot, definitely. So Season 2 will begin the week before Yom Teruah in the fall. So we will meet the week before Yom Teruah. I'll be back with Season 2. So definitely, I'm still doing ministry all summer. I'm going to be putting together a teaching series, a DVD set for Ladies of Teshuvah, and so definitely stay with me all summer and sense of donations and helping me continue. So that will be so appreciated. I'm not stopping ministry. I'm just getting a different, going for a change for a while, have some family time as well, but also and some camping. I hope you are too, but I've got to focus. I got to finish some stuff. All right. I have a little bit of show and tell here before we continue on. I don't think you can see that super well, but actually, you know what? One thing, no, I think I'm going to do that later. So when our daughter got of age, we decided to take on the tradition of giving her a release. So, releasing her into more responsibility kind of thing. So Yahshua was 12 when he went through his bat mitzvah and in the temple. That's one reason he was in the temple when he was 12. He was found in the temple when he was 12. Not only was it a safe place, and he knew that it would be a safe place to be and wait for his parents, but he wanted to be about his father's business. He had been released into doing that. And so we took that seriously, and we had a little bat mitzvah. We call it now bat brit for our daughters. I'm still working on on Hadassah's. I mean, this was Maggie's. But I just wanted to show you just real quick something that I did. Isaac, maybe you can just hold up. Let me just give you, I'll tell you. Let me find one that I want to show. There we go. This is a good one. So just hold that up there for them to see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 releases here that we gave Maggie. So I printed them onto these little cards, and then one by one during her ceremony, Isaac and I released her into these things. So this one that Isaac's holding is releasing her into keeping the covenant by herself. So it's now it's between her and Papa whether she wants to do this or not. But I did all kinds of different things. We released her from different things that we had carried for a long time. Little things like caring for her teeth. I was always like, okay, brush teeth more, okay, now it's up to you. Little things like that. But also being a lady of a Melchizedek priest, a lady Melchizedek priest, or keeping her hair and skin clean, or responsible snacking. He's laughing. Yeah, well, you have to let go at some point. Right. So we let go, and these were really, a lot of them were for me to learn to say, okay, I am choosing to let go of this and choosing to let my daughter be responsible for these things, even if I didn't feel she was, gonna make all the decisions that I would. I was releasing her into different things, regulating my own attitude. Ooh, I guess we kind of still try to help with some of these things, but anyway, she did try hosting one Shabbat a month, which was fun. What was it called, Isaac? That it was called, what was it? Shabbat Shemor. That's right. she was going to host a one Shabbat a month, as in for the family, just to make it how she wanted it to look. So it wasn't going to, like for me, it was tablecloth and candles and everything. And Shabbat Shamor was around a campfire with hot dogs and kosher marshmallows. Kosher everything. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you these. There's 12 of them that we released her. We had a big ceremony with friends over and released her into some things that I think all parents need to figure out what they can release their children into. But we wanted her to know that now she was going to take responsibility for her own spiritual walk. Not that we wouldn't be there to help and guide for sure, but that it was a big deal, that she needed to take it seriously. So enough said. Someday, I mean, I have a whole, honestly, I am in one of the things that I have to finish is I have a program that I've been trying to finish with a video and workbook and online workbook and stuff for your kids or anybody who you want to walk through a bat brit or a bar brit for boys or girls to help release them, and so they understand the story. This is one of the things we did with her, was we wanted her to understand the story. So it wasn't like we just wanted her to memorize how to, read a passage of the scriptures or the Torah in Hebrew and then read it out loud. I know that's what they do, but we took it real seriously and went a different direction and decided that we wanted her to understand the story that she was born into. So we broke it down into 9 acts. So you have Act 1, Ancient Love, and all the way through to Act 8, I think it was 8, which is, Paradise Restored. So anyway, long, lots to do there, and I can't wait to get that done. And when I do, then Hadassah will get her bat brit. All right, let's invite the rock. Can you do those slides? We're going to do the Avinu prayer together real quick. Again, this is the Lord's Prayer. This is the prayer that Yahshua taught us to pray when he was here, and we're just kind of learning it in Hebrew because it's beautiful. All right, you can do the okay. Oh, good. Oh, and also, hey, go off of that just real quick and put the little logo in the bottom. The top one. See that top one right there? Yeah. There you go. Just in case anybody comes on, they don't know what's going on. Okay. Our Father in heaven, may your name be sanctified. Avinu Shabashamayim Yitkadesh Shimcha. There you go. Let's do it once this time. All right. May your kingdom be blessed. Your will shall be done in heaven and on earth. Vayit barak melchutcha retzencha yiheye esui bashamayim uva aretz. And the next one, give us our bread continually. V'titein lachmenu timidit. And then forgive the debt of our sins as we forgive the debt of those who sin against us or who wrong us. Umechol lanu chatotenu ka'asher anachnu mohalim lachotim lanu. And then do not bring us into the hands of a test. Vial tivi'inu l'dei nidzion. And then protect us from all evil. Oh, I'll wait till the slide goes up. But protect us from all evil or peril. Vashom rinu mikol ra. All right. All right, sanctifying the name. I just want to make sure that we stop for just a moment to sanctify the name, because that's the action in this prayer. One of the actions in this prayer is to sanctify the name, as well as, I think you could break this prayer down and it's so beautiful, all of it. But sanctifying the name. So, people, what wonderful things has he done for you this week, this past week? And I really try to get everybody to think like this week, because you can kind of generalize your whole life and say, well, I'm so thankful for life and I'm so thankful for this and that. But I'm really serious about being real specific, because like when we were at the teepee, it had to get real specific. It was real specific. And in order to continue on living, I really needed to see his fingerprints over things. And so I was like, where are your fingerprints? In what? And it got real beautiful when I looked at how he operated here, how he did this for me this week, how he kept me alive with, just enough of this or whatnot. So we're going to sanctify the name. So I obviously can't hear you. I would love to, if you want to just write in the feed here, that's great. Or over in the ladies group, there's a file there with a note or a page that you can put up your praise for him. But I'm going to sanctify the name today by praising Yahweh, Elohim, King of the universe, the Melech Tzadek, the King of righteousness, Father. Some people say Abba, I say Papa, and I have a reason why I do that. But Isaac's tooth this week got taken out. So his tooth this week was finally, his pain finally left. And the reason why I really want to sanctify his name is because he had Monday off. Just the way everything was working, he had Monday off and he had this scheduled, but he didn't know if he was actually going to go in and get it out the very same day, because normally you go in, it's a community place, community health sort of thing, so they do things on a sliding scale, and so they're, it's the cheap end of doing things, and so they kind of, have a process. And as working with them before, the process has always been, we'll come in for the x-rays, and then you have to make another appointment for 2 weeks later, and then you get this thing, and sometimes you have to make another appointment for the next week. So it can draw out for quite a while. Well, he's been in pain so much with his tooth, and we can't afford to, just fix it. So he actually has to, take it out, which is so rots. But he got it out the very same day, which was pretty amazing, because otherwise he would have had to go through weeks of more pain in order to get it to that point. So he got it out that very same day, which I praise the name of Yahweh for that. And the fact that what will be, so I know, and we both know, and he kept reminding me this all week long, because I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry you had to have, one of the back teeth out. And I just feel so sorry for people that have, we all have so much that we go through here. But in the end, what will be is this new body. So I praise his name, Yahweh's name, for what will be. So Isaac will have a full, nice set of beautiful teeth when the king returns and he gets his new body. So that I'd like to sanctify the name for. And it was a beautiful week as far as I should say the first of the week was beautiful. Lots of hot weather. I think it got up to 85. And for me, that's it was beach time. And I actually got so hot that I actually got in the water. And I don't normally get into the North Idaho water, rivers or lakes or anything, until July, because I'm so cold from the winter. My core is so cold. I'm still getting warm. But it was so super hot that I did get in with Hadassah twice this week. So that was pretty cool. All right. And then obviously there was no rain last night on our Ascension hike and picnic, which I praise his name for. All right, so I am actually, if Isaac's ready, we're going to go ahead and start. Okay, we're going to start to prepare for Shavuot again by reading what we're promising. So we are making a promise to keep something, and we need to know what it is that we're promising. So I'll let Isaac go do something here real quick, and then we will so get your Bibles, okay? If you have this book, which is my Melech Tzadek handbook to the Feast of Shavuot, well, if you don't have it, you need it for one, because I think it's super cool and there's a lot in here. But if you have it, I actually have the whole law of love from Exodus 19:4 to 24:12. I have that all written out in here, so it's super easy to follow in here if you don't have your Bible handy. Otherwise, get your Bible and open it up to Exodus 19. And what we're going to do is we're just going to look at what it is that you're promising to obey. What is the law? So if you're new to this, and okay, so I can't address the whole thing right now, because this is what I've been trying to do with a lot of my teaching videos, is address this change that's provided for in Torah, in Genesis 49:10 and Hebrews 7:11 and 12, I believe. There's this change that's provided for in Torah. Oh, hey, you know what, Isaac? Go ahead and take that off. That shows us that what the Levitical law is. Oh, go ahead. Okay. There you go. So there's this change provided in Torah for a change from something to something. And so I've been trying to help unpack what that change is. We have, so that we can figure out what it is that we need to obey. What is the law? So in was it Jeremiah 31 and several other places, there's this prophecy that there's going to be a superior covenant that comes. There's going to be the Ruach HaKodesh that he's going to put in our hearts, which is what Shavuot's all about, the indwelling of the outpouring of the Ruach, the indwelling of the Ruach to move us. This is what makes it superior to the first contract you find that Israel enters into with Yahweh back at Mount Sinai, is that one didn't have the Ruach coming with it. What makes this new contract superior is the Ruach coming with it, which is what Shavuot's all about. So anyway, so if you're new to this whole idea, we are going to read the law of love. And what I mean by that is you've got, okay, so I'm just going to take, before Isaac comes to sit with me for a second, we just walk through this kind of systematically. I want you to look at something here before we do. Okay, so Yahweh Elohim, the King of the universe, YHVH, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator of all things, the Melech Tzadek himself, and Elohim, there's the family of Elohim. So you have the Father, you have the Son, and you have the Mother, the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, don't turn me off yet, okay? Anyway, you have this family of Elohim. You have the family of Yahweh, or Yahovah, and they are everlasting, okay? Totally everlasting. They have always been, and they will always be, all right? They are everlasting. They are love. So in the scriptures it says, YHVH, Yahweh is love. God is love. All right, it's not that he has love, it's that he is love. Is that the family of Elohim is love. That changes everything, I think, because it's not that they have it, like you own like a book or this. I mean, it's not that it's in their hands, it's that they are that. And it just comes, they operate out of love because they are love. Okay, so there's laws that go, just natural laws that go with love. So if you don't love, then you are breaking the natural laws of love. Okay, so love by definition is other-centered. Okay, Ty Gibson is an amazing teacher on this. So if you want to get some of his stuff, I can help you find some stuff there. But love by definition is other-centered. So that means that love does not exist if there's just one person, because you have to have this other-centered aspect to it. So love is a give and a receive, a give and a receive, a give and a receive situation. That's why there has always been more than one in the Elohim, in the Godhead, is because you have to have this to exist. They are love. So they had an ancient love in Act 1. They have been loving each other since, and Scriptures talks about this in Psalms, I believe, how, Yahshua talks about how he was there and Yahweh delighted in him, sort of thing. So there's this give and take situation that happens with love. All right, so, but you break that cycle of give and take, in this beautiful love, how love is. If you break that, you've stopped that. And what happened by breaking it, selfishness breaks it. Selfishness will break that. And being selfish is what Lucifer was. Lucifer broke Yahweh's law of love by becoming selfish and saying, no, I want the attention. No, I want to be God. I want the story to be all about me. So he breaks that law of love and instantly incurs basically this, death penalty, because if you break it, you die. That is the law. And I think all of the scriptures, when Yahweh's trying to tell us what this is about, he's trying to say this is a natural consequence of you not living out love, you not being love. You are going to die because you're not love. You're selfish, and selfishness will break this law of love. Okay, so are you in here with me? Okay, so you have this royal law of love that comes with love. And it comes with love. Yahweh is love. Elohim is love. And so he has this law that comes, and if you break that, then you die. That's the consequence of breaking this law of love. Okay, so Yahweh knows this. he knows that we have to keep this law in order to live. So he's moved heaven and earth to try to help us to figure out a way by which we can keep this law of love. All right, this is the law of love that doesn't go away. It's called the covenant of love in several places in the scriptures. It is, if you don't keep it, then you'll die. And so that first contract there at Mount Sinai with Israel, when he woos them out of Egypt, he gets them out of Egypt, gets them to the base of Mount Sinai, and says, will you be mine? Entering into this marriage type arrangement, he is trying to make a way for them to keep this royal law of love. It's one of the things that's going on there. So, and of course, they break it. Makes them ineligible to be this kingdom of priests. And so you fast forward to Yahshua, and Yahshua is the way. He is the way. He is the only way. And with that way comes the eating of Yahshua. You have to get him in you. You have the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is going to move you to keep his law. You remember in the New Covenant, when the prophecies of the New Covenant, it says that he's going to put the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Spirit of Yahweh, in us and move us to keep his law. What law is the question? We have to answer that. So that's what a lot of my videos are trying to answer, is what law is this? We have to divide the word of truth. We have to figure out what law this is. This is not the Levitical law I'm talking about. It is the Melchizedek law. It is the royal law of love that's written down in Exodus 19 through 24. Okay, so this is the royal law of love written down. And Yahshua came to show us how to live it. He came to put it into words that we could understand. It's beautiful. But if you can imagine, okay, so when we look at this royal law of love, we're going to see that the King of the universe is saying, this is how you're going to love me, and this is how you're going to love each other. So he's writing it, he wrote it out for us to say, this is what it looks like, what love looks like on you. I'm telling you exactly what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like on you. You say you want to love me. You can't just love me in any old way you want to. In fact, the whole incident with the golden calf incident, they made that calf, if you read the text, they made that calf and they said, tomorrow will be a feast day unto Yahweh. So they were going to, do this pagan celebration to him, thinking that of course he'll love it. No, you have to love him the way he's telling us to love him. And then also neighbor to neighbor. How do we love each other? So I think that's super important. That's super important to understand. It's not the context of this show today. I just want to read through the royal law of love, but I think just kind of laying groundwork for understanding that you have this everlasting love, which is the family of Elohim, and with them comes a royal law of love, just because there's laws of love that come with it. It's natural laws of love, and if you break it, then you die, and he's been trying to make a way for us to keep it. And if you see in Exodus 19 through 24, this is him writing it down for the first time ever in the history of the world. To that point, he says, this in your words, in human words, I'm going to take what has been basically unspoken and is just my character, and I'm going to write it down for you in a form that you can understand, in situations that you're going to understand. Okay, so that's what we're going to read today. Okay, got it? Okay, come on over, Icy. I know that there's a lot there, but that's you can look at some of my other stuff.
Yeah.
So here's your mic right there.
Yep.
So did that make sense? I know I didn't have slides for that, and felt like I was rambling, but
yeah, it's a big idea.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
hopefully a straightforward idea.
I think it is. I think it totally is. You got
I think so.
You have, he is love. Love by definition is other-centered. If you're not being other-centered, then that means that you're not loving, which means you're breaking that law of love. And Yahweh is love. He doesn't have it. He is love. And if you don't love like he does, then you're dead meat. And he's like, okay, I'm going to, as soon as Adam and Hava loved themselves more than him, more than anyone else, as soon as Adam loved himself more than Hava, because he didn't do what he was supposed to do, as soon as, this whole mess happened, then Yahweh had to figure out a plan on by which he could save humanity and get them to be able to love like he does. And that's what's so important about Yahshua when he said, you must eat of me. So you must, if you don't eat of me, then you're dead meat, because Yahshua loved like Yahweh loves. You remember, he's like, at the very end, he's praying for his disciples. May you be in them as you are in me and I am in you, kind of thing. So he loves like the Father loves because Yahweh's in him, and Yeshua is praying for Yahweh to be in us. But the only way that's going to happen is if we eat of Yeshua, have the indwelling of the Ruach, kind of thing. So I love there's a couple places in the scriptures where it calls this the covenant of love. Mm-hmm. I think that is just beautiful. Mm-hmm. So, and again, this is, when we look at Exodus 19 through 24, this is the first time that it's written down.
Right.
I mean, you got 2,000 years worth of history already has happened. Right. And, it's probably definitely passed down orally, at least the context of it. But when I looked at this, it's so clear that he's saying, okay, in your words, in humans' understanding at this time, in the context of where you are right here, I'm going to tell you what it looks like to love. And I think that's cool. All right. So, and so if we're supposed to keep it, when he says in Revelation 19 or whatnot, at the very end, maybe it's 22, I think it's 22, he says, only the people who do the commandments get into the city. Super important. Almost the very end of the scriptures, it has this one thing that makes it, just kind of brings it all home. Like the whole story home. If you don't keep the commandments, you ain't getting into that city.
Right.
And so super important to understand what's in this whole book, to understand how to get into that city. Because I want to get into that city. I don't know about everyone else, but man, okay. All right, so get your Bibles. Open it to Exodus 19. All right, through 24. Isaac and I are just going to kind of read this together as if we were at home, doing this at home.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm going to get a pen, actually. Maybe I don't have one with me. No. I am going to get one. I will be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the actual text of, like the verbiage of the covenant, I believe begins in Exodus 20. But we're starting in 19 because that's kind of the setup.
Yeah.
It's like a prologue, or just to set the context for this telling or whatever of the covenant.
Right. And I think that's super important. Whoops. Want to start reading?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we're going to start at 19:4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll read till I run out of breath here, and then we'll
trade off. I'll take.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to the Israelites. Cool. Obviously, he's speaking to Moses here. So Moses went back and summoned the elders of the people and set before them all the words which Yahweh had commanded him to speak. The people all responded together, "We will do everything that Yahweh has said." So Moses brought their answers back.
So one thing I just want to mention here is that interesting that they didn't know, like Michael Rood says, they didn't know the whole covenant here. They didn't know what they were agreeing to. They just said, hey, we've seen what you do. Anything you want, man, I'm yours. You know, they didn't know. The only thing that they had been given up to this point was the Shabbat command, which was, you know, also tied in with that manna thing, but it was the Shabbat command at that point where he had tested them. So that's the only law that they had knowledge of at that point.
Right.
So.
Okay, then Yahweh said to Moses, I'm going to come to you in a dense cloud so that the people will hear me speaking with you and will always put their trust in you. And Moses told Yahweh what the people had said. Yahweh said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day, because on that day Yahweh will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Put limits for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful that you do not go up the mountain or touch the foot of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. He will surely be stoned or shot with arrows. Not a hand is to be laid on him. Just got a sticky here.
Oh, sorry.
Whether a man or an animal, he shall not be permitted to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they go up to the mountain.
Wow. So then.
Right.
Wash their clothes and be ready.
Yep.
Clean up.
Yeah.
Take a shower.
Get prepared.
Get prepared. And this is like they're getting ready for the wedding. It's like, okay, get ready.
After Moses had gone down the mountain to the people, he consecrated them and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, prepare yourselves for the third day. Abstain from sexual relations. On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. And then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because Yahweh had descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace. The whole mountain trembled violently, and the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. And then Moses spoke, and the voice of Elohim answered him.
So real quick, I want to interrupt just a couple things here. Is that like this was Shavuot back then, and when you look at Shavuot forward,
right
after
at
Yahshua at Pentecost, there was a huge wind that came and it was loud and scary, and that cloud busted up into pieces and went over each person. That's just super cool. I've heard people speak on that before, is how that cloud busted up and fell on people that were there gathered at Shavuot that year. And also just I wanted to highlight this, that Yahweh is the furnace. Did you see that? And stood outside covered in smoke because Yahweh Elohim descended in fire. The smoke billowed up from smoke like a furnace, and he's the furnace that walks between the pieces.
Right, like in Genesis 15.
Yeah, with Abraham.
Right.
So he's the furnace, and he's called the all-consuming fire, and it's like he's got to figure out how to get us through that, be able to stand through the fire, his fire, and not burn up. That's why we go through the wilderness. That's why there's so much here. It's pretty cool. Sound of a trumpet grew. Okay, I think that's all I saw there.
Right. Then Yahweh descended to the top of Mount Sinai and called Moses up to the mountain. And I love this part. Then Moses went up, and Yahweh said to him, "Go down."
I know.
Like, come up here.
Oh my
He comes up there and he says, "Okay, now go back down." Sorry.
Come up here. Get
Okay. Up and down. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, so, okay, seriously. Yahweh said to Moses, "Go down and warn the people so they do not force their way through to see Yahweh, and many of them perish."
That's wild right there.
Yeah, it's what you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
intense power, and he knows his own power, and that
Right.
he is a consuming fire, and he can't just turn it off.
Right.
And it'll consume anything that's like
Yeah.
impure or whatever.
This is why it's not him being mean. It's not
Right.
him saying, "Well, if you go close to that mountain, then shoot him." It's not. This is him protecting us.
Right.
You know? Yeah, he knows I like how you said that. He knows his own power, and he doesn't want us to die just by,
Right.
sin can't be there, can't be in his presence.
Right.
It's very, powerful.
Even the priests who approach, even the priests who approach Yahweh must consecrate themselves, or he will break out against them.
Oh, one other thing too on that is like the whole idea of what Diane was talking to me about is like you've got the temple, you got the outer court, the inner, and then the most holy, and you just don't barge in to the most holy place and say, well, here I am, let me be your priest. You've got to go through training and everything. You don't just barge in. And that's what he's saying here is like, you may want to barge in, you may want to come see me right away, but no, there's some things that need to happen first. So don't come don't just barge in to see me. It's like barge into the most holy place and say, I'm going to start working now.
Yeah. I love the next verse because it just kind of illustrates Moses's like and Yahweh's like relationship, and the kind of the real like, personal like give and take between them.
Yeah.
Because right after Yahweh says that, then Moses says, "The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai because you yourself warned us. Put limits around the mountain and set it apart as holy." So
I love that.
He's like, well, don't worry about it. They're not going to come up because you already said. I don't know. At least that's what I'm seeing.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, seriously. Yahweh replied, "Go down and bring Aaron up with you. But the priest and the people must not force their way through to come up to Yahweh, or he will break out against them." So Moses went down to the people and told them.
Here, I can read some now.
Yeah.
And Elohim spoke all these words, "I am Yahweh, Elohim, your Elohim, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery." Okay, so here we're going. Is this we're in 20 now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to just walk through with us, and this is the commands. These are the commandments that we are supposed to be keeping in order to be keeping the law of love. So I'm going to check. I'm going to say, yes, I've done that, or I'm doing that, I can do that, it's easy to do, whatever. Or I'll say, ooh, maybe I need to rethink this, or I don't know how to do this, or what does this mean, kind of thing. So it's good at Shavuot time to know what you're agreeing to. This is right. What you're going to agree to. If you're new to this and you're going to mikvah next Shavuot, or you're going to make a promise to Yahweh, your Elohim, you need to know. Right.
And if you're new to the Melchizedek covenant, the covenant of love, and I've wondered like exactly where is it in the Bible, and which part or whatever, and how does the Ten Commandments fit into that?
Right.
Then just also pay attention to the flow of the narrative.
Right.
Here how it goes from start to finish.
Right.
With the preparations, and then all the trips up and down.
All the trips up and down. Yep.
And to the completion of this covenant here.
Yeah, so this is the contract that they're going to enter. Well, this is what they're making promise to Yahweh to do, and so are we. Okay. So you shall have no other Elohims before me. Check. Can do. Elohims would be if you're making sacrifices to anybody else besides him. So that would be Christmas. That would be Easter. That would be anything, Halloween. That would be Sunday worship. Or if you're honoring Sunday, that's all about Mithra. There's so much here. So you shall have no other Elohims before me. It's a big one.
Yeah, literally, like, you shall not have any other gods, or put any other gods in my face.
Right. That's what the original says.
Yeah.
The Hebrew says, in my face. Whew. All right, so that's a big one. And if you don't know what that means, you need to figure that out, because that's huge.
Yep. I think he definitely starts with, like,
the big one. Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah. Okay. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, Yahweh Elohim, your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. So you shall not make idols.
Right.
So tell me, decorated tree in the middle of a Christian home, is that an idol? Yes. absolutely. All the graven idols in Catholicism.
Right. Yep.
Gosh, and in Hinduism, and all of them have it.
Mm-hmm.
Every man-made religion
Buddhism.
seems to have this, something like that.
Yep.
Do not make for yourself any graven image. Okay. You shall not misuse the name of Yahweh Elohim, your Elohim, for Yahweh Elohim will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. And in the original, it says, anyone, what does it say? You shall not make the name of Yahweh invalid.
Or of no effect.
Of no effect.
Right.
So that means that you don't use it. So this has nothing to do with saying, oh my God. God is not it's a title, it's not his name.
Right.
So you have to understand that to understand what this command here is talking about. He's not saying don't swear as in don't say oh my God. He's saying don't make my name ineffective by not using it.
Right.
You're supposed to use it. There, check, can do. All right. And let me just, I need to just make sure this is clear here. I mean, we're not going through here to say, can do. Oh, nope, not going to work for me. I'm not going to do this. No, you enter covenant. If you want everlasting life, you're going to do exactly what the children of Israel did back here. You're going to say, yes, I trust you. I see everything that you have done. I trust you. Whatever you want. What do you want? And like, come into his presence and say, whatever you want. Now we're finding out what what we're agreeing to on some level. So, but we also don't want you to enter into a vow rashly. We don't want you to say, yes, I'm going to do it, and then just kind of flippantly, oh, well, I don't need to do that one. Oh, I don't need to do that one. Oh, and then by the end, you're going to not be keeping covenant at all.
Right, because he says himself here in the scripture that it'd be better to have never entered than to enter it and then break it. Yeah.
So we're going through it because we're being smart, but at the same time, I mean, I think if you are a lover of Yahweh Elohim, you're gonna just jump in his arms and say, "What do you want?" and I'll do it, and you'll be good for your handshake. But some of us need to walk through it one thing by one thing. Okay. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days. I have this one memorized in another version in my head. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yahweh or Elohim. On it you shall do no work, neither you, nor your sons, nor your daughters, nor your male, nor female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days Yahweh Elohim made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, but he rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh Elohim blessed the seventh day, or Sabbath day, and made it holy. Check! Love Shabbat. But he's interesting too that this is the weekly, he's talking about the weekly Shabbat, but he's also talking about his annual Shabbats. And we'll get to that more, but I mean, this is pretty specific about the weekly Shabbat.
Right.
I wanted to just quickly, we had a student living with us. We had a little bed and breakfast in our home when we were downtown before the teepee, and we had a little, just why don't you check the feed and just make sure all is going well.
Sure. Excuse me.
Just wanted to let you in on this. It's pretty wild story. She was living upstairs in our little attic apartment and going to the local college, and we were rereading at Shavuot. We were rereading the contract, and she wasn't keeping Shabbat. She was walking in the feast with us, so she had been celebrating because she lived with us and she was celebrating with us, but she wasn't actually not working on Shabbat, so she was working downtown at the resort. Anyway, and we reread this, and as soon as we saw this, we went, whoa, foreigner. It says, nor any foreigner residing in your towns or in your gates. And we went, whoa, this is our home, and she's living with us, but she's not obeying and honoring Yahweh. So the next morning, we decided this is how we were going to deal with it. We said, come down, sit with us. So she came down and sat with us, and we said, okay, we just want you to read this. And we handed her this Bible, and she read it out loud. And how cool was that?
And that was it.
She saw it.
Yep.
We didn't need to say a thing. We didn't say a thing and all. And she read it, and she saw that, and she went, "Whoa! I'm not keeping Shabbat, and I'm in your home." And she started the process of getting Shabbat off, and worked into a situation where she got like change of, I don't know what it was, a change of jobs within that company or whatnot, where she could get Shabbat off. But it was super cool because the scripture is just powerful enough. We didn't need to say a thing because we were worried. We didn't want to, we loved her. We didn't want to hurt her feelings or anything, but Papa did it.
Right. So we see people who are, taking this commandment and going way outside their domain with it. To people who work at the store or at a restaurant or at the gas station, and I'm asking them to work by that's not your domain. That's not within your gates. So that is not your concern. But then we see other people who are rationalizing, people who are, another family that's living with them, or their grown children who still live at home. And
it says it right
it's
here.
here in black and white. This is where we go to find out what it is we're supposed to be doing.
Let's get our heads out of other people's business and other pagans who are working on Shabbat. That's their deal. Let's look at our own home. Let's look at our own family and take care of that first. And only, really. It's really, we need to keep our head up. Okay. All right, let's go on. I was just reading, it just reminded me of something. I was reading what Yahshua said to the disciples towards the very end. He had risen, I believe, and he was telling them that they thought that he said that John was going to live all the way until he came again. And so there's this rumor, gossip going through the disciples. And then he turns, or was it John that says, he's like, no, what Yahshua said was, and so in Michael Rood's Chronological Gospels, the part of the commentary is, in other words, get your head out of other people's business. That's what Yahshua was saying. Like, what is it to you? He's like, what is it to you if he lives until then or he doesn't? I mean, basically, stop worrying about what other people are doing and worry about yourself. Okay. All right, next one is honor your father and your mother so you may live long in the land Yahweh Elohim is giving you. All right. There's that in the land thing. Interesting to me. And honor, okay, that's an interesting thing too. You have to discover what the word honor means, who the father is and who your mother is, I think. There's lots
probably
of stuff
another
here.
Show right here.
I know.
And there's not a ton in the text to go by, so
I know, and I'm not going to
basically walk with the rock on that one.
Yeah, exactly. But honor, just so you know, honor doesn't mean be a doormat.
Right.
It doesn't mean just be a doormat. And like Isaac said, that's another show. But this one, I think there's some things to chat about there. But okay, got that one. Okay, next one. You shall not murder. Not a problem. Will not do that. You shall not commit adultery. Not a problem. Not going to do that. And not commit adultery on each other when you're in marriage arrangement, but also with Papa.
Right.
You shall not steal. With each other as well as with Papa. He talks about you're robbing and stealing from me, as in your tithes and offerings. Remember in Micah he talks about that. All right. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Not going to do that. Be honest. Don't give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or his car, his jaguar, his mansion, his electricity, his internet, his prestige, his job, or anything that belongs to your neighbor.
Good example of how we have to kind of transpose these into our own time. How these are really given in verbiage that's relevant to the time, and that's going to be important through the rest of this. To just have that out in the open, right up front, and realize who he was talking to at this time, and what their situation, what their world was like. Because how many of us have an ox? Or a donkey. Or servants.
I loved Cotton Top. There's a donkey I loved. His name was Cotton Top.
I know.
Super cool. Okay, but yes, Isaac, this is awesome because you're totally right. Female servant, we don't have servants now. And and this whole idea was not an everlasting, as in Yahweh way back when it was just the three of them. this covenant of love, the idea of the idea of a royal law of love has always been and always will, because he is love, remember, but
Right.
there was no servants back then. So he's saying to, this is what it looks like for you now in human terms, for human beings, this is how you know. So
Right.
okay, check, no coveting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to take it from there, read the next little bit?
Sure.
Okay, well that's where the 10 are. That's where people think now it's stopped. Now,
Right, but just really pay attention to how the narrative's going here.
right.
It says nothing about Yahweh being done speaking or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
It's just
All of a sudden there's an interruption.
all of a sudden the people are having a reaction
Right.
to all that's going on. When the people saw the thunder and the lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear, and they stayed at a distance and said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have Elohim speak to us, or we will die." And Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid. Elohim has come to test you, so that the fear of him will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where Elohim was. And then Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this: You have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings."
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're starting now into more.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was like Isaac was saying, there's this interruption because they're having a reaction like, no, don't talk anymore. You're scaring us, with all the thunder and lightning and everything, and your voice is scaring us. But he continues. So if you notice, this was a little interruption. This wasn't the end. Okay, and you're going to continue to see this. How's the timer, just so you know?
We got 10 minutes.
Okay, good. All right. So, yeah. So then he goes on with more.
I'll go check it.
Yeah, okay.
We're at
Where
here, basically 24.
24?
Right there.
Okay. So then he's going to say, and then he says, "Make an altar of your earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed." Okay, so basically, this is make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. So you've got burnt and fellowship. You've got fellowship offerings. So this is they're offerings. So they're not commanded sacrifices. This is the difference between this and one of the differences between this and the Levitical law is that the Levitical law has sin offerings and all the different sacrifices that you needed in order to be covered, but this does not have that in it. This whole entire Melchizedek covenant law only talks about this idea of sacrificing a fellowship offering, a gift offering to him. It doesn't talk about one that is going to do any sin coverage, if you want to say. Okay? Right, Isaac?
Right.
All right, so if you're going to offer something to him, this is how he wants you to do it. Don't make an altar of stones that are dressed stones. So you don't want to defile it by using a tool on it. So there you go. So can do. Not going to be killing anything for him to be offering to him, but I have offered him my life. So Isaac's checking here to make sure that we are good.
Fine.
We're fine? Okay, good. All right. And then we have, do you want to keep reading or shall I?
I'm almost there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Then he says, "These are the laws you to set before them." That's what Yahweh says. So here's some more. He says, "If you buy a Hebrew servant, he He is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall go free without paying anything. If he comes alone, he is free to go alone, but if he has a wife, when he comes, she is to go with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free. If the servant declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, and do not want to go free, then his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door of the doorpost, or the doorpost, and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he will be a servant for life. Okay, so these commands here are about, there's so much to these that even, I don't totally fully understand, but the idea is, how are you going to love your servant? How are you going to love someone else who's working for you, who is under your care? And remember, this was, as far as I understand, this is the way they took care of the poor. The poor could come into a rich family, per se, or somebody who had money to support, and they could work for them. So this was like, could you say welfare? I don't know. Could you say this is how he was helping the poor within Israel have what they needed? Wait, where's your mic? So you know.
Oh, thanks.
But obviously there were not Hebrew slaves in eternity past. There will not be slaves in eternity future. But he's saying, since this is a situation you find yourself in, this is how you're going to treat them. This is how you're going to take care of them.
Right. This is how my law of love will apply in your particular situation.
Right. Yeah.
Like in your culture, in your society. Right.
So then it keeps going. If a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as male servants do. If she does not please his master, the master who has selected her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. There's that word, redeemed. He has no right to sell her to foreigners because he has broken faith with her. If he selects her for his son, he must grant her the rights of a daughter. If he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. If he does not provide her with these 3 things, she is to go free without any payment of money. So again, this is a situation that we don't have on our hands at this point, but something he was speaking to directly to those situations at the time.
Right.
And then keeps going. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. Fatal blow. So, however, if it is not done intentionally, but Elohim actually lets it happen, they are to flee to a place I will designate. But if anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death. That's the do not murder. That's just going back to the do not murder. So it's still the do not murder one. Anyone who attacks their father or mother is to be put to death. Anyone who kidnaps someone is to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or is still in the kidnapper's possession. Wow. Not going to be kidnapping. Anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. Wow. What was I going to say on that? I'll say it when we get to the sorcerer one.
Okay.
If people quarrel and one person hits another with a stone or with their fist and the victim does not die but is confined to the bed, the one who struck the blow will not be held liable if the other can get up and walk around with a staff. However, the guilty party must pay the injured person for any loss of time and see that the victim is completely healed. Okay, so basically, why are we hitting people? Why are we hitting each other? Anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies as a direct result, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property. This, I must say, for me, I'm not sure I understand that completely. So I'm not part of that culture back then. I don't.
You're talking about verse 20?
Anyone who, I don't have the verses on here. Anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod.
Right.
Do you see that? That is definitely one that I am not. I've asked Papa.
You said, why are we all hitting each other? Maybe we're just people of action instead of people of words. Sometimes I think I'd almost rather get hit than yelled at all day, or
Oh.
than talked to death. Let's just get it over with. Just give me a good smack. I don't know. Different culture, okay?
It is. It was a different culture, and there's issues there that we don't really understand. But
at the heart of it,
that's what I look at. Try the heart of it.
Justice,
Right.
Fair compensation.
Right.
Those ideas.
Right.
Is at the heart of it.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that down.
Preserving keeping a culture balanced and functioning properly, so everyone can be taken care of and remain part of Israel, not to be sold off into foreign countries for slavery, and
right.
just
what was that one thing you said? Justice, and then right before that you said, or right after that,
fair compensation.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, the overarching heart of the matter, and that's what I do. That's what I really want, is to know his heart.
Right.
Through this. To see, what is his heart in this? Okay. This is interesting. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman, why are we all fighting? Like I said, why is a pregnant woman around somebody who's... Anyway.
Well, it's also, we don't live in an honor-based culture. We live in a consumer culture. Okay, here's my little soapbox. But we don't... It is so foreign to all of us, for a culture that's based on honor, and unless we spend time in the Middle East or something, that it's really difficult to relate to. I will just acknowledge that right now,
Yeah.
But we just, rock with the rock and just look at what's the heart, or ask what's the heart of
what he's
at the heart of this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And really, and if it doesn't, and also don't panic over it, and don't sweat it. If it just doesn't apply to you, then don't lose sleep over it, and move on. Really, it's okay. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. So these things up to this point.
If you don't have an ox, well, we're not to that one yet.
Up to this point, let's see. Right, this from the Hebrew slaves. So from where he says, "These are the laws you're to set before them." What verse is that? These are the laws you're supposed to set before them. Right after the altar one.
Back to the beginning of 21.
Yeah.
Chapter 21.
Chapter 20. So far, chapter 21, verse 1, all the way down so far, doesn't even apply to me. It doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to Isaac. Yeah. Because they're all dealing with things that they had issues with them back then. So we'll just keep going. If people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, but there's no serious injury, the offender must be fined. Whatever the woman's husband demands and the court allows. But if there is a serious injury, you're to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's but that's in context here of this situation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so an owner who hits a male or female slave in the eye and destroys it must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye, and an owner who knocks out the tooth of a male or female slave must let the slave go free or compensate for the tooth. There again, you're talking justice, fair compensation.
Mm-hmm.
If a bull gores a man or a woman to death, but the bull is to be stoned to death, and its meat must not be eaten, but the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. If, however, the bull has had the habit of goring and the owner has been warned but has not kept it pinned up and it kills a man or woman, the bull is to be stoned, and the owner must also be put to death. So, responsibility.
Yep.
However, if payment is demanded, the owner may redeem his life by the payment of whatever is demanded. Mm-hmm. This redeemed idea, this redemption thing, I really like to see through here. This law also applies if the bull gores a son or daughter. If the bull gores a male or female slave, the owner must pay 30 shekels of silver to the master of the slave, and the bull is to be stoned to death. So there again, you've got culture differences between a slave and the son or daughter of the owner. So you've got that's set back there that we don't really understand. I'm sure there's some stuff there you could unpack.
Mm-hmm.
But that's compensation. That's responsibility. Okay, if anyone uncovers taking responsibility for the things that you own that could affect another person.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. If anyone uncovers a pit or digs one and fails to cover it, and an ox or donkey falls into it, then the one who opened the pit must pay the owner for the loss and take the dead animal in exchange. if anyone's bull injures someone else's bull and it dies, I think you should read. You read.
Okay. Well, on 33 and 34, I mean, that one's kind of cool because, Yahshua refers directly back to that one.
Right.
And it's a little clue there also that, we can look for some clarification from Yahshua in the Gospels on some of these. So there's another little hint as to how to figure out what some of these.
Yes. Ooh, and I totally believe I've started a study. I've got to, and maybe I'm going to do some of that this summer, but I've started a study where I look at Yeshua's Sermon on the Mount and in direct correlation to the covenant here, the law of love, and how it actually lines up. I mean, I'm not all the way through it yet, but he's speaking directly to things in here, expounding on them, putting them in words that generation would understand. So super cool. Okay.
Okay, if a man's bull injures the bull of another and it dies, they are to sell the live one, divide both the money of the dead animal. Oh, and divide both of them, the money of and the dead animal equally. That's interesting, but fair.
So you see things new every time you read through it.
However, if it was known that the bull had the habit of goring, yet the owner did not keep it penned up, the owner must pay animal for animal, and the dead animal will be his.
That's the second time it's mentioned. That must have been an issue back then.
Well, yeah, and I expect it was, but I like that how it says also it adds, the dead animal will be his, because he paid for it.
Yeah.
So, so it's only fair.
Yeah, fairness. I know it. Fairness. It's cool.
All right, continue?
Yep.
All right, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep.
Yep. Don't steal, people. There you go. That's the same thing. That's a refresher on the don't steal.
Yeah.
And another thief. The next one is about stealing as well. Another one.
If a thief is caught breaking in and is struck so that he dies, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, he is guilty of bloodshed.
That's interesting.
Don't ask me.
That I don't.
Please don't ask me.
Except maybe it has something to do with being able to see. But okay.
Well, because maybe he just came in to ask a question.
Right. Yeah.
But if he comes in the middle of the night,
that's not to ask a question.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So, there's something there. Just,
Okay.
Just be nice and be kind to these verses as you're reading them.
Yeah.
Right. Don't ask too much of them and don't. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah.
A thief must certainly make restitution, but if he has nothing, he must be sold to pay for his theft. If the stolen animal is found alive in his possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double.
Again,
okay,
don't
so now
steal.
we're talking. Kind of looks like we're talking about, cattle rustlers and stuff here. Assuming he's coming in to steal an animal.
Right.
Okay, I got it. If a man grazes his livestock in a field or a vineyard and lets them stray, and they graze in another man's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads into thorn bushes so that it burns shocks of grain or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make restitution. This stuff's all really seems really common sense and straightforward.
Yep.
If a man gives his neighbor silver or goods for safekeeping and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if he is caught, must pay back double. But if the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he has laid his hands on the other man's property. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other lost property about which somebody says, "This is mine," both parties are to bring their cases before the judges. The one whom the judges declare guilty must pay back double to his neighbor.
That's just, he's expounding on what it means to not steal.
Yeah, and he's also, Papa's kind of, I don't know if you'd say deferring to the courts,
but he's letting
to the justices, but he's definitely affirming a society where that these people are living in a society that functions that way.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
Continue.
Yeah, if you, yeah.
Okay.
One more, how about that? And
If
then
a
I'll
man, sure, if a man gives a, let's see, I'll read through 15.
see, yeah.
If a man gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to his neighbor for safekeeping, and it dies. Oh, that happened to me once.
It
I was
did?
taking care of the neighbor's dog.
It
Oh,
did.
that so sucked.
You're going to cry again, aren't you?
No, I'm not gonna. Well, we'll skip a week.
Oh, wow.
That,
How old were you?
How old was
How
I?
old were you when that happened?
Okay, I must have been between 16 and 18.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, safekeeping, and it dies or is injured or is taken away while no one is looking. The issue between them will be settled by the taking of an oath before Yahweh that the neighbor did not lay hands on the other person's property. The owner is to accept this, and no restitution is required. But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, he shall bring in the remains as evidence, and he will not be required to pay for the torn animal. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it is injured or dies while the owner is not present, he must make restitution. How many times has that happened to me? Can I borrow your rototiller? Can I borrow your lawnmower?
I know.
Oh,
And then it dies on you.
I'm never borrowing a rototiller again. Those things, I tell you.
Yeah, that's good to take it to that level, because we're not just talking animals here. I mean, if you look at it in context of our own society and our own life, you would be like, if you loaned the car, to do the same thing, or the blender, or whatever you're loaning someone or you're borrowing from someone, this law, the heart of it would apply.
Right.
We had, and before you finish that, I have a little story. We had when we lived at the teepee, I had a hen, and she was sitting on 18 eggs, and she was almost done. She'd been there for 20 days or 19 days, and so we just had a couple days left, and I was going to get my first batch of little baby chicks. I was so excited, and came home. We came home, and we had her in a little house.
Yeah, a little hen house.
And I had the door shut while we were gone. I came home and I was like, oh, I bet you have to go potty. I bet you need to get out and scratch around, don't you? I bet you like to leave that nest for just a little bit. I should never have done that. I opened it, and then we walked down the trail to go down to the fridge, and happened upon our neighbor who was walking up the trail, and he had his dog with him. And we were chatting, talking. We liked our neighbor and stuff. And all of a sudden, I realized the dog wasn't there. And I was like, "Where's the dog? Annie, where's Annie?" And then all of a sudden, we heard this, and I went, "Oh!" And I started running as hard as I could up the trail. Ran as fast as I could up the mountain into our property, and
Too late.
I was heartbroken. The dog had my hen in his mouth, and I was absolutely heartbroken. And the neighbor was running up behind us, and he was heartbroken, so heartbroken. He couldn't believe his own dog had done that. And at the time, I wasn't laughing. I was sobbing. I was crying. We were already doing hard, and then to have things like that on top of the hard was more than my heart could take sometimes.
Yeah, not a good day.
But my point with saying that was that he, without even knowing, like, on the front of his mind he just instinctively offered to buy me brand new chickies. So he paid for me to get brand new chickies, little chickies at the store. So I got my 18 little chickies, but he felt so bad, and it was just a natural thing. I think that was my point. It's just that he naturally went to making restitution, because he has, had the love of Jesus in him, Yahshua in him. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're down. If a man seduces I think we're on to.
Sure. Let's get. Yeah, we can go there.
Yeah. I don't even know what time we're at. I have no idea where we're at.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay.
It's 12:40.
Okay. So let's go on.
Yep, your turn.
Oh, it is. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, hey, will you do me one favor? Will you put the little logo in the corner?
Sure.
Because I like it when people come on if they know where they've stumbled on. Okay. If a man seduces a virgin, excuse me, who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride price for virgins. Okay, I really want to stop on this one for just a second.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Here's the reason. Read it again. If a man seduces a virgin who is not pledged to be married and sleeps with her, he must pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. Okay, so if you sleep with someone and they're not married to anyone else, and you sleep with them before you get married, then you're going to get married. That you're supposed to be. You shall pay the bride price, and she shall be his wife. So, if you choose to have sex out of wedlock, well, that first one you have, then there you go. You're supposed to be married to him. But if the father of the girl refuses to give her to him, then the boy must still pay the bride price for virgins. And it stops right there. It doesn't say it's okay. So growing up Christian,
right,
the thing that is in front of every Christian girl is save yourself for marriage, as if that is like the most important thing in your entire life,
like the number one commandment.
If that's the number one thing that he wants you to do is save yourself for marriage. I don't see that in here. I'm not saying you should.
Right.
I have gone down bad path. So that's a whole nother show someday. So I'm not saying that you should. Absolutely not. But in these commands, that is all it says about it.
Right.
It says what his responsibility is to the girl that he just knocked up.
Well, it doesn't even say that.
No, but I mean, you're going to assume.
That is the part that society has also interpolated, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Has added to the text. That is also not there.
Right. You're right.
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 It doesn't say if she gets
pregnant,
he must marry her.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
It goes both ways.
Right.
So
I just think it's so amazing to see this, and for your whole life growing up, there's this purity thing, this purity movement, and I am not saying that is not a good thing. I mean, I want my girls to stay pure. I don't want them to experience everything I experienced, because it's painful. When the man isn't seeing this, if the man isn't operating like this and saying, okay, well, that happened, so now I'm going to marry you. I mean, how much pain and sorrow and suffering would that have saved me from, had that happened? At the same time, what have you? But my point is that it's here in the text in so small. It's so small, and in Christianity and growing up, that was like huge. Every girl is like, it's such a huge thing. That's why the courtship and courtship whole thing started, and it's become such a horrible thing for the youth of Christianity, that they're using that as how they date, and that whole dating, everything. It's just so much pressure, and I don't see that in here. So I'm not saying that he's saying that go have sex with people. That's not what he's saying, but it's very, very very short command.
Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. We're talking about respect the text.
Right.
Respect what is in there and what's not in there.
Yeah.
And yes, and
don't
absolutely
add to it.
A command that says don't add to or subtract from.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I just think that's pretty powerful stuff. I think I think that would take a whole entire show, actually, which
there's definitely a whole book right there, I think.
Right. And for you women, girls, young ladies, young adult ladies who have been taught otherwise, I totally feel for you. I felt it myself. I understand the sorrow, the pain, the suffering that you've probably been through, but when I read that, it blew me away. From his own words, his own mouth. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
Going on. Go ahead.
Yep.
Do you
If
want
that made sense. If it didn't, please, address your questions to Rebekah.
No. Thanks.
Sorry.
No, address your questions.
Maybe I'll check the comments here. We'll see
No,
what,
don't check. No.
See what's going on.
No.
No?
It's
Okay.
not my word. No, go ahead. You should check. Make sure. No, it's not my words. It's his words, right? Okay. Going on. Do not allow a sorceress to live. Okay, so one thing, just quickly.
We're probably going to pause here on this one too, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to pause here just for a second. Do not let a sorceress live. So I just want to just quickly. I had somebody say, well, what do you do? Take a sorceress out and kill them? If this is the if this is the law that you go by, how do you, and you don't pick and choose, because that's one thing about the Levitical law is if you try to keep that one, the 613 laws that are in the Levitical law, you can't keep them all. So the idea is you pick and choose what's convenient for you, right? You don't have a temple, you don't have a tabernacle, you can't go do all the sacrifices, so you pick and choose, and so they come under fire with that idea. And so then people try to bring the Melchizedek understanding of this, the Melchizedek priesthood and people that are doing that, keeping this, they try to bring them under fire by saying, well, do you take a sorceress out and kill her? So then you're picking and choosing. But our response to this is actually, do you know a sorceress?
That is definitely my first response is, do you have someone in your fellowship who is practicing sorcery?
Right.
For real.
Yeah.
And if not, then
it's not even
why are you calling us? Why are you asking? Then,
Yeah. Right.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Just
and
leave it alone.
If you do, then this is where we also have said, when Yahshua comes back, he is king and he's bringing with him his father's royal law, and he will set up he's setting his kingdom up now, but I mean in the tactile reality of the whole situation, he's going to set up the kingdom, and he's going to go by his father's law, and he will enact this, and that will be under his administration, and that will be for him to do.
Right.
Not us. So, that's how we've talked about it before.
Yeah, there's that part too. Seriously, is we don't live in a society that that is set up that way,
right?
That operates that way. We don't have the freedom to.
We don't have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
But in his administration, when he brings it, then we will be in full support of him doing.
Yep.
What we cannot. Right now. Does that make any sense? I hope so.
That makes sense.
I know we're going to get comments.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look. Okay. Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is also to be put to death. There's another one. So, again, do you know anyone doing that? Okay. So, whoever sacrifices to any Elohim other than Yahweh Elohim must be destroyed. He's trying to keep the camp clean. He's trying to tell you how important these things are, for him to say you're sacrificing to the God of Christmas is as important as, as important to not do as not having sexual relations with animals, not letting a source. These are huge things. So, you can say, no, I'm not doing that. Or you can say, hey, I need to clean that up. Need to not do that anymore. I need to stop doing that, or whatever it is you're participating in there. This is about you. This isn't about, this is about you. Are you doing this? No. Do not mistreat or oppress the foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt. Definitely. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will certainly hear their cry. My anger will be aroused, and I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows, and your children fatherless.
And it happened.
Yes, it did. Yeah. How's the? No, go ahead. No. The feed. I was just wondering.
Yeah, we're good.
Yep. Do not take advantage of the widow or the fatherless. Yeah, so you're supposed to take care of the poor, the orphans, and the widows. Wow. Okay, so are we doing that? I think honestly, we all could do better at that. I think I could do better at that. We we have, long ago, you know, I knew what I was called to do. And I think everyone has a specific calling on their life. And I know people that are called to adopt. I know people that are called to go to the mission fields. I know people that are called specifically to, you know, to take care of the poor, orphans, and widows in a specific sense. Like that's all they do with their life, you know, and that's what he has asked them to do, you know. So, but this is a command for everyone. So I know that we have talked about this before, and when a situation approaches you, what do you do with that situation? So I have a calling on my life, and I'm spending all my time doing that. So I don't have the calling to go out into the Skid Row and do Skid Row ministries.
Right.
I've got another calling. But though this command is for everyone, I look at that. We've talked about this and said, you know, for our family, when approached with an issue where somebody needs something, how do we respond?
Right.
And so that's for us, when we see this, that's how we're looking at this, going, okay, so I remember Maggie one time when we were talking about this when she was real little, and she said, so if there's a baby on the side of the road, will we take it home and raise it? I'm like, well, basically, yes, of course. If a situation was presented, then we would rise up to the occasion and do as he says. You know, somebody's hungry, you're going to feed them. Somebody needs clothes in front of you, you clothe them. You do everything you can to alleviate that situation. If there's an orphan that needs a home, do everything you can. You know, whatever presents itself to you.
Right.
All right. I think I had that on my head. All right. Do not blaspheme Elohim or curse the ruler of your people.
Oh.
So,
do you have 25?
I don't know. Maybe did I miss it? What does it say?
This one.
Oh, sorry. I did. If you want to read it?
Yeah. So, chapter 22, verse 25. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not be like a moneylender. Charge him no interest. If you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, return it to him by sunset, because his cloak is the only covering he has for his body. What else will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate.
So that's like really interesting to me. We've had believers want to loan us or offer to loan us money, and they want to charge interest.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, it says right here, you're not supposed to charge me interest.
Right.
That's pretty insane. So, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
I know. Sometimes people that call themselves believers can be the
worst,
toughest to do business with, or the toughest with a business to approach things as business that are actually personal, or that's another topic right there. I think.
Another show.
There's another show.
Yeah, and then if you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, like, you don't get to keep it forever. You return it by sunset. I love that. I love his heart on that. Compassion. Compassion. All right. Do not blaspheme Elohim or curse the ruler of your people. Do not blaspheme Elohim. Remember, Yahshua said, do not blaspheme him. Do not blaspheme the Ruach HaKodesh. It will not be forgiven. You blaspheme me, will be forgiven, blah, blah, blah. But don't, yeah. All right. Do not hold back offerings from your granaries or your vats. So don't hold back offerings from your granaries or vats would be the place where you have your wealth. So don't hold back your offerings. So you're going to dig deep into your pocket. And interesting, for the feasts of Shavuot and for many of them, he says, bring a gift that is in proportion to how he has blessed you. And I really feel like we probably don't do good enough on that. Like, how is he blessed, and you want to pour out an offering that is of equal to how he has blessed you. Okay. Go ahead.
You must give me the firstborn of your sons. Do the same with your cattle and your sheep. Let them stay with their mothers for 7 days, but give them to me on the 8th day.
So you're going to dedicate the firstborn to him. Can do. Have done. You are to be my holy people, set apart people. Do not eat the meat of an animal torn by wild beasts. Throw it to the dogs.
Yep.
So no roadkill, people. Can't eat roadkill. Done. Easy. I don't need to do it. Do not spread false reports. Do not help a guilty person by being a malicious witness. Ooh. Yep. Do not spread false reports. Don't spread gossip. Gossip. That's not true. All right. We can all probably work on that one. Don't spread false reports. I think, I just have to say, being at Boise State or whatnot, when I finished my degree, really like fine-tune that in me, because you cannot, what do you call that, copy another person's work. And they're really, it's like a one-time you're out of there thing in most of my classes. Was like, if they find that you've, how do you call that? Plagiarist. Would you plagiarize?
Yep.
If you plagiarize, you're out of there if they find it. And they can find it on Google now. You just start typing in and they can find it. So it really fine-tuned that for me. Like, do not spread false reports, as in don't say something is yours and it's not, and say something is that it isn't, and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd. And do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit.
There you go. Do not follow the crowd. Do not follow them. Don't go right over the cliff with them.
Yeah. Yep. If you come across your enemy's ox or donkey wandering off, be sure to take it back to him.
There you go.
I love that.
That can be anything: a dog, a cat, or a kid, or a runaway car.
I know. Because, you might look at it and say, hey, free donkey.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but no, give it back.
If you see the donkey of someone who hates you fallen down under its load, do not leave it there. Be sure you help him with it.
Yeah, somebody who hates you. If they don't like you, you're going to turn and you're going to love on them. This is how you love other people. Low battery. I totally forgot. I'm going to have you plug it in.
Plugged in.
Yeah, will you do that for me?
It looks like it's plugged in.
I totally... I don't know.
Excuse me.
All right, I'll keep going. Do not deny justice to your poor people in their lawsuits. Have nothing to do with a false charge, and do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Do not deny justice to a poor person just because they're poor. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twist the words of the innocent, so you can't accept bribes. Oh, yes. Do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be a foreigner, because you were foreigners in Egypt. I think if you pull it down, you might see... I don't know. Oh, wait, you can... Yeah, is it charging now? You see it up there?
It says it is.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do not oppress a foreigner. So there you go. I'm not going to do that. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest your crops, but during the 7th year let the land lie unplowed and unused. Then the poor among your people may get food from it, and the wild animals may eat what is left. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. So he's talking about a Shabbat rest for the land right here, which is they didn't do, which is why we ended up scattered Israel. Because they owed him many years of those seventh year Shabbat rest that they didn't give him. So this, for me, I don't know, Isaac, we don't know where we are in the counting of the 7, do we?
Never been sure exactly how to determine that.
Yeah, so we're not fully sure where we are in that. Like, was last year, I think I emailed someone and was wondering whether it was last year we were in that 7th year, the Shabbat rest year, or if it was this year. I don't think I've had a really solid
I know, and different
answer to
people
that.
have different personal experiences that, that make them believe that it was one year or the other.
I think we had that a couple times.
So that's...
So this is where calendar is important and getting on, figuring out.
Yeah.
That would be important. But I'm willing to do that. Absolutely.
Sure.
Especially if I had a piece of land that needed rest, or He's talking about his land over there, I know, but you get into the practice of doing it wherever you are.
Right.
Be careful to do everything I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other Elohims. Do not speak them. Do not have them on your lips. Do not let it be heard on your lips. So that's like when we talk about the God of Christmas or Easter, we're saying that in context of teaching, but we don't, at home, we don't make a practice of saying those words.
Right.
So that's easy. Can do. Sure. And this is my favorite part. One of my favorites. This is my favorite part. 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Here we go. Yes, people. It's in the covenant. It's in this law. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast as I commanded you. So look at that. Even in here, the command is to eat unleavened bread. 7 days eat unleavened bread. It doesn't even mention not eating bread with yeast. I just find that interesting because he's really pinpointing what's really important about that feast in this Melchizedek law. Yep. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv, for in that month you came out of Egypt. So there you go. You see like the head of the year. You see the first month named. Super cool. Can do, love to do, want to do. Great. Checked. All right. No one is to appear before me empty-handed.
Yep.
That's huge. Don't come to his feasts without bringing an offering.
Right.
Something that costs you something.
Right.
Celebrate the festival of harvest, which is Sukkot, with the first fruits of the crop you sow in your field. Wait a minute. So, sorry. No, that's not Sukkot. Sorry. Celebrate the festival of harvest, which is Sukkot. He's talking about the festival of weeks, with the first fruits of the crops you sow in your field. So that's that. What did I say? Did I say Shavuot?
16 is Shavuot.
Shavuot. Thank you. Sorry.
And well, okay, it's all in 16.
Yeah.
First part is Shavuot. The second part is Sukkot.
Yeah. Sorry. So you have unleavened bread, Shavuot, and then the next one is Sukkot. Celebrate the festival of ingathering, which is Sukkot, at the end of the year when you gather in your crops from the field. So that's at the end of the year. As you see there, he makes it super clear that the first of the year is not right around Sukkot, which a lot of people think the first of the year is Yom Teruah or Rosh Hashanah. They've placed Rosh Hashanah there. So you see that all those issues are kind of addressed right there. Can do, love to do. 3 times a year, all the men are to appear before sovereign Yahweh. So those are the 3 times of year you're supposed to appear before Yahweh. Do not offer the blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything containing yeast. Offer the blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything yeast. I don't do that. The fat of my festival offerings must not be kept till morning, excuse me. Guess I should put my glasses back on. All right, not sure. I don't plan on doing that. I don't. Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of Yahweh your Elohim. Bring the best. See, I love that. Bring the best. So when you come to him and you celebrate the feast in front of him, bring your best. Absolute your best. I love that. It's right there. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Now, we understand to be at the time. I know, right? Darn it, really? You have to stop that tradition. No, that is actually what the pagans were doing at the time around them. So again, we see that this is him looking at the situation that they find themselves in the context. So he's putting in here saying, don't do what the pagans do. It
has nothing to do with
cooking a goat.
Oh, what's the word for the Hebrew word for parv?
Parv. Oh, yes, parv.
It has nothing to do with kosher food. It has nothing to do with mixing meat and dairy.
Nope. That's where they get that doctrine.
Yeah.
It's not what it's saying.
It's about not being like the pagans around, societies around you or the cultures, and not doing what they do with their pagan rituals.
Right. That's
okay.
That's so cool. All right. So right here is where the law of love stops. This is where it stops. So you're gonna see it change in tone. So all the commands, he's just given a whole bunch of commands, and I want to highlight just really quickly, super easy, because so many of these don't even apply to us now, right? There's so many that don't apply. The hard things are going to be turning away from pagan gods if you have them, saying his name, and keeping Shabbat, and then doing the feast days. That's really going to be the hardest part if you have never done this before, or if you are doing it, fine-tuning those things is where the issue's going to lie.
Right.
Yeah,
the rest of it, like the neighbor with the chickens, he illustrated that most people are pretty much already doing.
Yeah, right. I mean, charging interest perhaps would be one thing to look at. Yeah. There's other things in here to look at that are super awesome and you got to do, but the hardest things are going to be getting rid of your pagan holidays. Sunday worship, Christmas, Easter, Halloween, all the other ones, New Year's Day, Valentine's Day, everything else in between, all the other pagan stuff or distractions from actually keeping his rhythm of the holy days. And here we see the 3 spelled out, but we also see him saying, keep my Shabbat, and we see that there are some other Shabbats. If you look at unleavened bread, it has 2 Shabbats. Shavuot's 1 Shabbat. Sukkot has 2 Shabbats. What is that? 5. There's 2 more. So the Yom Teruah is 1, Yom Kippur is another. And so what they're called is Melchizedek issues. So he begins to talk about it here, but you see it more elaborated on, more direction in the rest of the Torah on these issues that are already started here or prior to Exodus 19.
Right.
So then you can definitely say the whole rhythm is important to him. All the feast rhythm.
Yeah.
So that's really super cool. Okay, so we're just gonna go down.
I hope that made sense. That's another clue if you're wondering what's in the covenant and where is it spelled out and how do I do it is that there's more information about some of these issues further on in the Torah.
Right.
Or throughout the scriptures.
Right.
And so you can see in, Leviticus, more about the feasts.
Right.
The feast days and how to observe them and stuff.
And then
so there's new commands that are Levitical that are not part of this.
You're right.
But there are Melchizedek issues in Leviticus.
Right. That help explain.
That can help to explain and clarify and round this out.
And then Yahshua, you look at when he was preaching and how he was preaching on certain feast days, he even more explains what these things are, what this law of love looks like through his words. But also too, if you look back, Noah knew about the food laws. Now there's no food laws in here except don't eat roadkill.
Yeah, or the goat.
Or the goat.
Boiled in its mother's milk.
Yeah, which we know that's more than just about that. But Noah knew about the law of biblically kosher, so he knew what foods you can and can't eat. So when you see later on in the Torah where it breaks down, don't eat vultures, don't eat this and that and eagles and all this other stuff, that applies because that's a Melchizedek issue.
Don't eat bunnies.
Don't eat bunnies. Don't eat rabbits. Who wants to eat an animal anyway? It just blows my mind. It's a living creature that, fish I can understand. Fish I can do without getting queasy in my stomach. I can understand fish, but man, everything else I'll eat meat once in a while, but I know you like it, but
I can't cuddle a fish.
I know, and Papa really loved the smell of barbecue. Yeah, no, I think that's funny. He really liked the smell of barbecue. Okay, here we go. I just have to add to that.
Okay.
Is he liked the smell of animals barbecuing instead of humans, if you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
A little off topic.
I know it's a little off topic, but that's that's one of the biggest points, major reasons is I don't think he likes death on any level. Obviously there was no death prior to the breaking of his royal law of love. You didn't have Elohim in ancient past, the 3 of them sitting over, dead animals, eating dead animals. So, he created animals to be for our pleasure, not for us to eat. No matter how much anybody wants to tell me that cows were made to eat, they were not made to eat. He made a provision by which you could eat, but he said later, he's like, fine, if you're going to sacrifice, here's what you're going to sacrifice. You are not going to be sacrificing human beings anymore. You're going to sacrifice animals. That's why that is a more pleasing aroma to him than what the pagans were doing and what Israel was doing.
Right.
Get me started.
I know.
It's just, hey, this story, big story. I mean, man.
This is why he doesn't want this stuff in his face.
Yeah.
Is because it has been in his face
Right.
before, and his
Right.
nostrils have been filled with that
Right. The stench.
smell, and he does not want to be reminded.
Right.
He doesn't want to be reminded of
Right.
all those,
Yeah, poor the children,
Yeah.
babies. Yeah, and that's why, when you look at the pagan rituals that started Christmas, the pagan rituals that
Right.
started Easter, they were both started in, and Halloween and all they were started in this, human sacrifice.
Right.
And he doesn't want you touching it. And don't touch it. Don't make him remember. Don't put the tree up. Don't honor that day at all. Change your ways. Repent. That's what we're supposed to be teaching and preaching, is repentance away from that. And
Right.
that's why he's like so serious about it.
Right.
Okay. All right, we're going to just continue here just a little bit, because I want you to see that was the end of the actual covenant of love. Now he says, see, now he's speaking directly to their situation right there. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I prepared. So he's talking to them about, he's moving them from Mount Sinai to the promised land. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. If you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies. Okay, this is where he starts to say, this is what I'm going to do for you if you keep my royal law of love. So here you start to see what I'm calling a contract. Okay, that royal law of love that we just read is everlasting. Okay? That royal law of love that we just talked about is everlasting. What we're seeing right here is the actual contract deal. If you keep my royal law of love, then here's what I'm going to do for you. Okay? I will be an enemy. I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Isn't that interesting? When he was talking about being friendly to the foreigners, he wasn't talking about what he was going to do. Do not bow down before their Elohims or worship them or follow their practices. Huge. He's saying, do not. You must demolish them and break their sacred stones to pieces. Worship Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh your Elohim, and his blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you, and none will miscarry or be barren in your land. I will give you a full lifespan. So look at that. I mean, he's going to wipe out the enemies. This was part of that contract. He was going to wipe out the enemies. If you didn't bow down to them or follow their practice, he's going to bless your food. He's going to bless your water. You're going to be healthy. There's going to be no illness among you, and nobody will miscarry. All your babies will be healthy, and he's going to give he'd give a full lifespan. All right. So that's what he was promising them for doing this. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion every nation that you encounter. I will make all your enemies turn their backs and run. Oh, that just sounds so wonderful. I will send the hornet ahead of you to drive out the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way, but I will not drive them out in a single year, because the land would become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land. There's a ton there, but we're going to keep going. I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea, and from the desert to the Euphrates. I will give into your hands the people who live in the land, and you will drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them or with their Elohims. Do not let them live in your land. So when he said, do not provoke what did he say? How did he say it? The foreigners? Remember, you were a foreigner?
Oh, right.
And this doesn't mean you're supposed to live with them, though. I mean, it couldn't mean the same, because he'd be contradicting himself.
There were foreigners that attached themselves
to Israel
and became,
right,
as natural born.
Yeah.
Maybe he was referring to those.
Something to study for sure, I think.
Yeah.
Do not make a covenant with them or with their Elohims. Do not let them live in your land, or they will cause you to sin against me, because the worship of their Elohims will certainly be a snare to you. Oh, I just think that is just amazing. Do not let them live in your land. Oh, why didn't Israel listen? Ugh. Then Yahweh Elohim said to Moses, come up to Yahweh Elohim, you and Aaron. Okay, do you see that? So we have, this is the blessings of this contract. Okay, so this is a contract they're making. So we just read the royal law of love that's in this contract. So we're super happy to have documentation of this contract, because the royal law of love is written in there for us to see. But the contract itself is, if you do this, then I will do this.
Right.
So here's the fine print, basically. So here we go. So they're done with, that's the contract. Then Yahweh Elohim said to Moses, come up to Yahweh Elohim, you, Aaron, Nahab, Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel. You are to worship as a distance, but Moses alone is to approach me. The others must not come near, and the people may not come up with him. All right. Maybe you can read a little bit.
And when Moses went and told the people all of Yahweh's words and laws, they responded with one voice, everything Yahweh has said, we will do. And then Moses wrote down everything that Yahweh had said.
So he writes it down. Moses writes all of that down into what is called, what we will find out is called.
So we just read the agreement.
Right.
And then the people responded and said, we agree to these terms and conditions and blessings and curses.
Yeah.
And then
Basically,
Moses recorded
ketubah,
the whole thing, wrote it down, what we just read.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And then he got up early the next morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent young Israelite men, and they offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as fellowship offerings to Yahweh. Moses took half of the blood and put it in bowls, and the other half he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant,
which he had just written,
and read it to the people. And they responded, they confirmed again, we will do everything that Yahweh has said. We will obey. Moses then took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, this is the blood of the covenant that Yahweh has made with you in accordance with all these words.
There you go. And then this is one of my favorite parts.
This is the blood ratification.
Right, that's blood ratification. So there was a proposal. There was an acceptance. There was a proposal prior to Exodus in 19:4, basically. The proposal. Then the acceptance. They accepted before, and then they accepted here. And then you have the blood ratification. You see that? And then, this is great, the covenant confirming meal. Moses and Aaron, Nahab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel went up and saw the Elohim of Israel. They saw Yahweh. Under his feet was something like a pavement made of, why do I have lapis lazuli?
Lapis lazuli?
Yeah, I have something.
Mine says sapphire.
Sapphire. As bright blue as the sky. But Elohim did not raise his hand against these leaders of the Israelites. They saw Elohim, and they ate and drank. I want more. I want to know more about this.
This frustrates Rebekah so much.
It does.
That like later on we get 7 pages about mold. And that Moses, she's got a bone to pick with Moses, that he only gave one verse about this feast on the floor of heaven.
I know. I just think that there needs to be more. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But anyway, so you see, yeah, Moses and I are going to maybe have a talk someday. I want to understand that a little more, why he chose to only give a verse. 2 sentences.
Maybe there just weren't words.
3 sentences. There's 3 sentences there, huh?
Maybe he just didn't have the words.
Didn't have the words. Well, maybe. Okay. So you see the royal law of love, and then you see the fine print, and then you see it finalized between Yahweh and Israel. So that is, and so what we know as the new covenant, the new contract that's available, is you have the royal law of love, the same one, and then you have some new details, new fine print. And which that is what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk a little bit about the new covenant bennies. Whoops! The new covenant bennies. What the fine print is in the new covenant. But then you see, and then in the new covenant, you see the blood ratification. You see the proposal, knock on your door. If anybody opens, you see the acceptance. Yes, come in. I'll sup with you and you with me. Then you see the blood ratification, his blood. It does that. And then you see the covenant confirming meal in the bread and the wine.
Yep.
Super cool. So that's where we obey by keeping the royal law of love.
Yeah.
As new Melchizedek Israel, we do that through the new superior covenant, which we'll talk about next week. But anyway, there
you go. That was great.
Yeah.
I think I'll go check
Please.
the feed.
Yep. And tell me what time it is, will you?
Okay, I can do that right now. I got 20 minutes after 1.
Yep, I think we're done. Definitely. That took a while. All right, everyone. I think we are, let me see here if I can get out of my program here. We're going to go over to the ladies group. So if you want to join us over in the ladies group, that would be fabulous. I will see you over there in just a few minutes. I'm going to give away a little Shavuot parallel page. It's just a one-page handout that I'm going to give you tomorrow morning for showing up. And remember, this is the last show of season 1 of the Happy Hebrew Girl show is next week. And then, because Shavuot is Sunday, we're going to take a summer break. And we will talk about how that is going to look in the ladies group next week. So there you go. Let me see if I can get off. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You have a wonderful day. I hope that helped you prepare for Shavuot coming up. Yay. I'll see you over in Facebook. And see if I don't know why this, someday.